journalist Batya Ungar-Sargon and also Democratic strategist Biro. It's good to see you both. We may dip over to Adams, so just stand by as we look at the live coverage there. Batya, I'm going to start with you because I know that this impacts you as someone who's in New York and you have a certain perspective on this. They're going to try to say, how great he is. If you're a socialist, who wouldn't want freezing rent and, free groceries? But all of this is a scary thought for people, not just in New York if you're business, but also some people who may be wanting to leave. I'm not sure where you fall if you're getting your bags packed already.
Definitely not getting my bags packed yet. I will say, as somebody who rides the subway a lot, one thing Eric Adams truly did is make the subways safer. You really experience that on a day-to-day basis. Here's what I think the right needs to understand about this moment. The Democrats are transitioning from elite, woke, far-left cultural positions around race and gender that were deeply alienating to working-class voters to socialist redistributionist economic policies that, Bianca, it turns out are equally alienating to working class voters. So if you look at where Mamdani did best, he did the best with New Yorkers who have advanced degrees, who are high income, who are white, who are Asian, who live in North Brooklyn, or who have gentrified Queens. And meanwhile, if you look at majority Black areas, Hispanic areas, and areas in New York where people don't have degrees, Cuomo won there. So this is a very elite agenda, despite the fact that it is socialist. It is kind of trust fund socialist.
Yeah, I love the word you use, transitioning, too, because they do use that in a lot of different ways. They love the transitioning. But it's funny that you said that because it's exactly what he claims was not his base. I'm going to play this clip. He's with Jen Psaki, and he's talking about reaching out to people that Robin Batya just said that really were people who are Cuomo people. Let's play this soundbite here.
What do you think it means?
I think it is part of a larger referendum on where our party goes. And I think one of the hopes that we had from the very beginning of this campaign was to move our political instinct from lecturing to listening. And I asked those New Yorkers, the vast majority of whom were Democrats, why they voted for Trump and what it would take to bring them back to the Democratic Party. And again, what I heard from them was cost of living.
And in the longer clip, Robin, he claims that it was people in the Bronx and other places that had gone for President Trump. It doesn't seem like that's actually, where his base was. If it is these so-called elites here, maybe this bodes well for Adams and Cuomo. What's your take on this? And maybe even splitting the vote. And Curtis Sliwa, I mean, that seems like a long shot, but former Governor Pataki said it's definitely a possibility this week.
It's so interesting because Mamdani kind of switched the playbook, and he took some of the best parts of, let's say, the Obama campaign that I worked on, which was the grassroots part, where he did hit the ground running. He canvassed all 10 miles there in his district, which is kind of unheard of. That's a huge district. But they also, he kind of switched the game up and did some things that worked for Donald Trump, because he got out there and did some of the podcasts that people like Kamala Harris just ignored, and that did not bode well for her. So, he's a smart guy. I'll give him that. He knew what it took to win. Let's see if he knows what it takes to govern.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. But you can say anything and you can promise things, but, he doesn't really control the MTA. So when you talk about free bus rides and all this other stuff, and I think he said raising $10 billion, Batya, all of this, though, feeds into some chatter about AOC 2028, and they're saying, hey, Mamdani wins, then there is this sort of look for her and what she could do. She endorsed him early. What do you think the win, Mamdani, and if he's successful to take mayor, which we don't know yet, would do for AOC?
I definitely think AOC had a great night Tuesday night, and this does suggest that the Democrats are opening up to a progressive message. Certainly all of the biggest names in the Democratic Party came out and basically endorsed Mamdani. If they didn't endorse him, they voiced support for him. I'm talking about Bill Clinton and Jerry Nadler and Chuck Schumer and all of these people you think might have had a problem with his very anti-Israel stance, but no, they came out in support of him. And so I think for her, this bodes very well. The Democratic Party is flailing.